So everyone, we're still hyped for the new Spider-Man movie, and we are super hyped for Willem Dafoe coming back as the Green Goblin, which is absolute perfect casting. So I thought we would take a look at the Toy Biz 2001 movie Green Goblin, and you know, what can be said, this figure looks absolutely incredible. The glider, just flawless. The sculpt, really good. The paint job is really good. It's got like a really nice metallic green that just makes it look spot on to the movie. It's got this feature where the helmet is removable, but for some reason, I don't know why, they gave Willem Dafoe light orange hair, which is really inaccurate. The helmet itself, like, we can take a closer look at the sculpt. Just look at that, it's spot on. I am one of the people who actually really dig this helmet. I think they would have been able to do a good job with just like makeup and stuff, but personally, for me, this Power Rangers costume that everyone goes on about, I honestly didn't really mind it. I did really like the Alex Ross design, that he was having like purple tattered rags and he had a sword. I thought that design was also really good, but in the end, I think this Green Goblin design is perfectly acceptable, and, you know, maybe they're gonna spice it up in No Way Home, maybe. If it just looks like this, I'm fine with it. So, anyway, you know, I have one issue with it though, is that I just don't like the glider stance. I know the little feet things here are like in the right position, but I really wish they were like, I don't know how they could have made it like magnetic so you can move them around a little bit, because this looks pretty dumb. And in the movie, Willem Dafoe is usually, his stance is usually quite low, and because you can't twist these, you can't really get any clearance for him to crouch any lower, like, ooh. Like you would probably want to have him more like that type of crouching, or I usually try to crouch him like him more, so like grabbing onto the glider like that. The articulation is a little bit annoying for this figure because it looks alright. It has a pretty good silhouette, but it's also quite skinny. You see, let's compare him to a modern day Marvel Legends figure. This is the, you know, the normal Spider-Man one. He's really short, but, you know, you can't really blame Toy Biz for that because they couldn't predict what the scale for the figures would be 20 years later. But, like, the legs are pretty skinny, and, you know, he's pretty short. The articulation is decent. He's got like ball shoulders, and these move out of the way. But ooh, these are really stiff. I don't really know how. Like, what's the default stat? Is it like up here, or is it more like that? I think it looks better like that. And then he's got double jointed elbows, really solid. Twists here, breaks up the sculpt, but that's perfectly fine. He doesn't have any. Oh wait, he does have a rotation here, and then he has a hinge joint here. I always thought this was a really stupid piece of engineering. Like, I really don't see why the concept of, you know, a pin and socket joint with a hinge, why that would be like a second thought. Fingers can move, give or take. I don't particularly care for this very much because this looks dumb when they're splayed out, because you can see they're still sort of bent, like he's supposed to grasp something. This joint here, awful. It looks terrible. And it's not particularly stiff either. Then he's got a twist here that essentially does the same thing, but it looks better. Like, it doesn't look good, but it doesn't look worse than, you know, this. What he really needs here is an ab crunch, and one would think the diaphragm joint would be able to do something, but it's literally just a twist, and it's absolutely awful. The head is on a swivel, and actually no, it's on a swivel hinge, I think, or maybe it's a ball. And then the hips, awful range of articulation forward, which is another reason why you can't really get him to have like a low stance. Outwards, really good. He's got a thigh swivel here. double jointed knees as you would expect from Toy Biz. He's got this horrible calf joint. You know, this doesn't look good on any level. And then he's got a hinge here, toe hinge, which I don't particularly care about. And then he does not have an ankle rocker, which is slightly surprising, but what can you do with a 20-year-old figure? So yeah, articulation, not particularly great. Once again, I'm not like crapping all over this figure because I do indeed like this figure quite a lot. It's just, it could be so much better, and I really, really hope that Hasbro manages to step it up when No Way Home drops. So, the big reveal. Is the Willem Dafoe head sculpt any good? It is very, very good, actually. It's pretty spot on Dafoe. The only thing is, you can see how the paint has sort of rubbed off from the helmet. And that's because this helmet is on by friction. Like you just like sort of squeeze it on and then it sits there pretty snugly. I don't really know how they could have made the whole mask removable. I guess an alternate head would have been the best option because this head is also pretty tiny now, as you can see. But for what it is, it's a really good Willem Dafoe head sculpt. I've seen the regular Norman Osborn figure that comes with a chair and the Goblin helmet sitting on the chair, and that head sculpt looks... I haven't seen like a close-up of it, but from what I've seen, that head sculpt looks absolutely amazing because it's got the right haircut and everything. Norman in the movie doesn't have this sort of slicked back haircut either. It's just because of this helmet, I assume. They needed to flatten out his head a little bit. But, you know, it looks alright. You're gonna display him like this anyway. This, that you can see at the back of the head here, is not particularly great. You know, what can you do? They could have included like a second part maybe. I do actually have a head from this like playset thing, which I could probably modify to fit on, but I'm not really gonna bother with that. But the option is there. Also, in case Hasbro somehow manages to mess up the new Green Goblin head, I have this one to fall back on because look at this, this is fantastic looking. Or I can just use this. So, yeah, really, really solid old figure. I definitely think Hasbro will improve it. I'm not really sure how they would improve the glider though, because this sculpt and the paint job is just spot on. I don't know why these bombs in here can move, but I guess they look alright. But yeah, nice little stand too. You can take it off the stand as well if you prefer that, and you can angle the wings. I do actually really like the glider design in the movie as well. I think it looks fantastic. I was never really a fan of the, you know, really tiny glider. But yeah, this is the Marvel Legends Green Goblin. Well, the Toy Biz Spider-Man movie Green Goblin figure, and I hope you enjoyed.
We are who we choose to be. Now choose! Jameson, you slime! The heart, Osborn. First, we attack his heart.